Hello, 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 and welcome to the Cup TV, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and where you can always come to us first to quench your thirst. I'm your girl, Lana, your resident evil diva, and I'm here to give the tea, spill the tea, and drink the tea because you know I love me some tea. Per. Excuse me. That's the perfect timing.
Perfect
Um,
timing, yeah.
I'm not drinking anything because, why grab things when you aren't ready for what you're supposed to be ready for. So, but I do have my cup mug, and that is the most important thing. Ooh, that makes us have a panel full of cup mugs, panel full of cup mugs. Beer, 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 beer. Deal or No Deal Island Edition. And you can get your cup mug or any of our beautiful cup merch at lanagscreations.etsy.com. That link will be in the description below. And we do ship internationally and domestically, so there are no excuses. Unless your postal service decides to run a little bit of slow. And that's okay because a delay is never a deny. So it will come. It just might take a little time to get there, but it will come. So get your cup merch. Period.
And hello, my name is Jack. I'm the resident game designer of the panel, and inspired by Deal or No Deal Island, I decided to take a vacation for the next 2 weeks from my room into my kitchen because we need to watch a dog. So if you hear any extra noises in the background, think of it as a small, cute puppy, possibly being a brat. And I just have some coffee because I really need it.
I mean, hey, it is what it is. And we're gonna have special appearances from Jack's mom too, just back in the background. We love that. I love it. I'm in love with this moment. So I love it. But there's the cute puppy. There's Jack's mom. And there's the puppy. There's the puppy.
Hello, and we're just gonna try and turn you a little bit.
There's the
Hello.
puppy. We love
Are you
it.
gonna be good?
Maybe.
Good. That's what I thought.
Yeah, maybe, maybe not. But we are talking Deal or No Deal Island, and it was an interesting moment. I will just say the show is it was very interesting. And a lot of things we found out afterwards why it didn't make the show itself didn't make sense, but it makes sense after we found out everything that we found out later. So it's all good. Um, but before we jump into it, y'all know what to do. Hit the subscribe button on this channel. We are giving you all the reality shows that we possibly can afford to do, like for real, humanly possible. And so we're going to give you all the shows that we're going to do. Deal or No Deal Island. We got Survivor AU, Australia coming up. We have Survivor US coming up. We have Amazing Race coming out. We are finishing up Traders. We do our Project Runway. We got a lot going on here on the TV channel. And so we are excited to give you all the content. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, you should do that right now. We really do appreciate you. And yeah, follow all of our other channels at the Cup Pod, the Cup ESC, and the Cup Ringside. If you're a fan of drag or drag race, Eurovision Song Contest, and WWE Wrestling, all those channels are heating up. The drag channel is kind of at a lull, which is weird because that never happens. But the TV channel, the wrestling channel, and the ESC channel have all picked up. So that's kind of crazy. It never happens often, but it is happening right now. So check out all those channels. Follow us on our audio podcast links as well. That'll be down in the description below. So you can, if you need to check us out on the go, as well as our Patreon. We got a lot of stuff we got in store coming in the pipeline for our Patreon. So you definitely want to join our Patreon. This is the time to do it. And I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it, but this is the time to do it because we got a lot going on in our Patreon about to start happening from all 4 channels. So get ready for that. And then you can follow us on all of our socials at the Cup Pod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. So there is that. All right. that's enough chit chatting about the business part. Let's get into Deal or No Deal Island because, boy, was it something to see.
Yeah, I mean, this episode in particular,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it did feel like a bunch of nothing. And I mean, we have found out things later on that have made it clear that they couldn't exactly tell us
Mm-hmm.
why things felt very off during this episode. And we'll get to it. But this very much felt like, oh, we haven't talked about this person. Let's give them a reason to go home and then immediately get them out.
It, yeah. So we start with everybody, we're coming back from Temple. Everything is, we just lost Rock. Very sad. But then out of nowhere, and it really felt out of nowhere. But according to the contestants, this has been brewing for a minute, and I'm pretty sure that is the case. But for us who were watching, this came out of nowhere. Apparently, Maria Grace and Storm have been flirting and secretly meeting up, and
And
now
just, yeah, and they finally kind of spotted it. Like it quite literally comes out of nowhere that essentially Maria Grace and Storm are just full on flirting.
full on, and in front of everybody, and I don't know if Storm or Maria Grace have watched reality TV competition shows beforehand, but I feel like they just either they didn't watch or they didn't care because everybody else is like, oh, showmance is blooming. Gotta watch them. And they're like, nobody cares about a showmance. I think you overthinking it. Nobody cares. Who would care about little old us? And just because we just happen to enjoy each other's company. Why would anybody care about that in a competition show where somebody can be voted out? Why would anybody care about two people being on the same page, voting in the same block all the time? Who would worry about that?
It quite literally just doesn't matter in this format. Like the
No.
only time it matters is if you intentionally elect one of them to play against the banker, and then only if that then works, they then have any sort of power, and that's one extra person off the table. Now, granted, if you consider it like a bottom three situation and both of them are in the bottom, then it's something that you do have to worry about, and I can see that.
I mean,
That's happened once. Exactly once.
I feel like it can be an issue if we're trying to, I would never want to be in a group where it's them two and me being decided upon, or we have to make the decision amongst ourselves, because basically it's going to be me because they're never going to vote against each other. So I don't think it's me personally. I am against showmances in any form, any show, any capacity at all. I am a showman's hater, notoriously. I don't like them. I don't want to see them, even if it's my faves, which has happened. And I'm like, oh, this showman's will be cute, but I don't want it to affect the game, so I don't want it to happen. Um, so I did not care for their little showmance, and
Well, thankfully, you won't have to care for too long.
no, because between one of them, spoiler alert, one of them is going home today.
Yeah, it's very unfortunately, Deal or No Deal has a DONDI has a real big problem that unless someone is actively like directly related to a reality star of how they're playing, if you see them in an episode, they are going home.
Mhm.
Philip has survived because he's essentially Parvati's second.
Yep.
Dixon has survived because he's essentially David and Parvati's second. And then the only other person that I can think of that's gotten any attention is CK because she hates Dr. Will. Like, Lachelle and Seychelle have gotten a little bit of spotlight, but only when they were in the bottom. And then, I mean, Maria Grace has only gotten a spotlight next to Storm, which immediately gets evaporated. And then Letty,
one of them was going home.
one of them is going home. Like that's where it goes. It's just, oh, okay, two storylines that don't matter. Great, send one home.
So it's literally that, but which one is going home? We'll tell you later. So let's go to the challenge because honestly, that's really what I want to. Because they were just like, oh, flirty, and people were watching. It's like, okay, we see what's happening. We get it. Yeah. And so, was this before the challenge? That little conversation between Parvati, David, and Maria Grace. I think that was before or after.
I think it was before. Yes.
Yeah. So Parvati and David pulls Maria Grace to the dock, and they're like, "Our daughter is liking a boy," and Parvati is like, "Oh man, who is this boy?" And David was like, "Well, I told this boy that he has to have good intentions, blah blah blah." So apparently, Maria Grace is now part of the Parvati David Dixon family that I had no idea that she was a part of, but she's a part of the Parvati David Dixon family, and David
we know who lives. It's that simple. We know who lives now.
Like, because we'll see. So it's just like, so Storm had to get a talking to from David about his intentions with his daughter Maria Grace, and everybody else who is not a part of this family is looking at this family like,
y'all basically have you guys have a half majority at this point. We kind of are gonna have to start picking you off here. I hope y'all don't get fucked over. Bye.
Right. It's wild. So now we go to the challenge. And the challenge is basically like majority rules. Like it's literally like they all took a survey of who was the biggest threat, who was the least threat. Like you had to rank who your biggest threats to your least threats were. And the two people who picked the two highest threats, they were going to be safe. And the two people who picked the lowest threats were going to be safe. And how did they pick these threats, you ask? Well,
axe throwing. Because we can't just we have to make it interesting.
Absolutely.
Ranking people on a list is boring.
Absolutely.
I mean, why not?
I didn't mind it.
I wasn't mad at it either. It's fun, especially because we needed a physical way to throw targets at people, and it's like, oh, well, we can't use darts. That's boring.
Right.
Shuffleboard lanes are too expensive. Axes.
Yep. We could do that. Axes work, and that's what they did, and it was fine. I thought it was a fun little, way to do what they needed to do. So before we even start the challenge, though, Joe, it's like after they finish filling out their threat list, Joe's like, the banker likes boldness, and the banker needs one person to. Will, we haven't told you what it is. He was like, I don't care. I want to do it. Whatever the banker wants, I want to do it. And they're like, okay, Dr. Will is going to volunteer for something. He has no idea what he's volunteering for. And Doctor was like, I don't really care what it is. I just want to make sure I get to do it. Didn't care what it was. So what it turned out to be was he had to reveal who his most threatening person was that he wrote down on his list. And in true typical Dr. Will style, the person who he wrote down as his most threatening person in the game, he was like, just like in life, the only person I'm threatened by is myself. And so he wrote his own name down. And everybody's like,
Yeah.
what a cop out. But like,
I
honestly,
mean,
it's kind of smart.
it's smart. Obviously, they don't necessarily know why they're ranking people at the moment. They just know, write down a list of people you perceive as a threat from most to least.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, everyone is essentially going to put Dr. Will.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Will wants to be perceived as a threat. As such, he's going to raise his own threat level.
Mm-hmm.
His strategy is just to be the most over the top possible. So it tracks. It does track.
It does track. And Dr. Will says himself, and because of his boldness, he was able to throw the axe first. And
Which I would argue in this challenge is not necessarily an advantage. It's a weird, because what's the order of everyone else?
right.
It's just random anyway. Wouldn't it be more advantageous to go last? I mean, you could argue it either way. The one specific rule of this challenge was you can throw an axe at a target that someone else has already thrown at. And just to be clear, the targets are of everyone's faces, and that is how you select who you believe is either biggest threat or the least biggest threat. You can throw it at anyone, but if you are closer than someone else, you essentially claim the target yourself. Which I don't see how going first, it kind of rewards passivity in the cast, where it's like, oh, I mean, I'm going to claim this target first and then just pray that no one else goes for it, because
I mean, I think it's an advantage because if you do go first, you can pick your target and you can, like, you set the bar. Like if I toss it and it's really close to the bullseye and it makes it there, somebody else is going to have to feel that pressure on getting it even closer. And so I feel like they would rather just get a target where they could just get it instead of going for mine because mine is closer. What if it misses? Then they're at the bottom again. You know, it's an advantage, but it's not that big of an advantage, I guess. Yeah. But Dr. Will
it's
goes
minor,
first.
but
It's a
I
minor
mean,
advantage.
so what's also minor is revealing who you have the biggest on the top of your threat list. So, I mean, I guess in that sense it works out.
Right. But it turned out that Will just went for himself, hit himself, and oh, by the way, the money ranges from 5 million down to 1.25 million. That's the
Just a flat million.
just a flat million. Yeah. So there was that. There was that. And if you got the $5 million case, you solely had the option to put the person in who's going to play the banker. That was your sole responsibility. So that was the motivation to win. Will goes first, throws his face, does it. Parvati throws it at her face, sure. CK was going to go after Will, and Will says, hold on. Let me make a deal with you. Because CK has made it very clear and obvious that she does not like Will. She will go after Will. I want to take Will out. She called him out at the temple the night before. It was like, I want Will gone. And so Will knows how she feels about him. And he's like, well, I guess I got to take her out because she feels very adamant about taking me out. So he goes to CK, was like, look, before you take that shot, if you don't go for me and I win, I will not take you out. I won't make you play the banker. I'm a man of my word. I will not make you play the banker. And CK knows she does not want to play the banker. She just played the banker. And she also might know that axe throwing is not probably her strongest shoot. She might not hit the target, or she might be further away. So she's like, I'll take the deal. I'm gonna take that deal. I'm gonna take that deal. I won't go for you if you won't put me up. And Will's like, I'm making it public. I'm making it known. I won't go for her. And so CK picks a different target, and I think she picks Dixon. No, I can't remember.
CK specifically ends up throwing at Letty.
Okay.
Just full throwaway at that point.
Right. Philip goes for Seychelle, and then Seychelle turns around and goes for herself. She's like, absolutely, I think it's me. And Philip is like, what the? She's still like, I'm sorry. I'm trying to be safe here. I need safety. I am trying to be safe. Letty goes for CK.
Letty goes for Philip.
Philip.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Letty goes for Philip. Dixon goes for Storm. And then Storm goes for Dixon. Initially goes for Dixon, misses. So then we go through the rounds again because we got to do another round. And I think Maria Grace goes for Lachelle. Philip
ends up going at Letty.
Yeah.
I have the whole list here just off to the side because for some reason it's difficult okay, this person went for this person, which was this rank on this, because you're confusing like two different names most of the time. But Storm ends up going for Maria Grace.
Yeah.
And anybody else that we're looking at here?
Nope. I think I got everybody else.
Yeah.
But everybody's doing what they do. So the top threats end up being actually Dr. Will and Parvati. And who went for these shows. Makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. And then the least threatening ended up being Seychelle and Lachelle, which makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. We do actually have David as number 3 and Philip as number 4. Obviously, Philip, David, and Dixon are a trio, throwing Maria Grace. But, I mean, I am curious as to why David is so high at 3, and then Dixon is at number 8. Like, he is down. I guess people don't see him as a strategic threat at all, which is
definitely not a physical threat.
Definitely not a physical threat. And I guess that's probably primarily what people are going off. Yep. So I guess that makes sense in retrospect.
Absolutely. But we do have, so Will is going to pick who is going to play the banker. Parvati is also safe, along with Seychelle and Maria Grace. They are all safe. So, but everybody else up for grabs. So to get back to the camp, and everybody's trying to figure out what Will is going to do, and Will is like talking to Storm, and Philip was like, I need to figure, and Maria Grace was like, it's Seychelle. It's like, we just need to figure out, how He's like, because I can't put up CK because I made this big public thing that I wouldn't put her up, but she's obviously my target. How do we get out CK without having CK play the game and all of that? And so Storm and Philip like, what if we pick someone who would go after CK? And Will's like, that's true, we could do that. Who do you think will go after CK? And he was like, I think if you whisper into Dixon's ear, let him know that, you will let him play. If he wins, going after CK will be the best bet, blah, blah, blah. Trying to get him to, talk to Dixon. And what ends up happening is Storm ends up talking to Dixon and was like, do you think you want to play? And Dixon was like, I want to put destiny in my own hands. We hear that a lot this season. I want to have destiny in my own hands, and what happens. And he's like, if you win, who do you think you would want to go? And he was like, I think it would probably CK because I think she would want me to go. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. You should tell that to Will. And so, of course, Dixon goes and Will asks him who would he, eliminate if he wins. And he says CK. And that's music to Will's ears because that's exactly who he wanted to go in place of anybody else. And so he was like, okay, that's a lot to think about. I'm not fully sure what I'm going to do. I don't know. It's a lot. But it's a lot to think about. And so he was like, I know y'all wondering who I will pick. He's like, I'm just going to keep that to myself. You'll find out at the temple. And I'm just like, okay, well, what are you hiding? Why are you being so, like, who are you taking? Who's going to play the game? And it didn't make sense until we got information on why Will was being so dodgy and so sneaky.
Literally like 2 hours ago, because I think even the producers at Deal or No Deal Island kind of realized that the edit of the episode didn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because Will tried to throw himself in. It makes sense that Will would try to pull something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And my honest thought is that Will would try and throw himself in, get a good deal as quickly as possible, and then eliminate CK.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It just makes the most sense out of every given option. That's probably what's going to occur.
Mm-hmm.
But he is directly stopped and told, that's not how this game works.
Nope.
Select one of the 7. You are not allowed to cop out.
Because if you wanted to be safe, you would have been safe. But you chose to win the whole thing. So therefore, it is. So Will apparently tried to put himself in the game. And they were like, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. You have to pick someone. And so it made sense why Will looked so like annoyed when they kept coming back to him. Like he was so annoyed that he didn't get to pull out the plan that he wanted to pull out. He just was like, this is, whatever. Yeah. So he kind of looked annoyed when they asked him who he was going to pick. And it was because he wanted to pick himself.
He genuinely says right after in the clip that's released, well, I was not expecting that. He didn't ask a producer. He didn't do nothing. He didn't check that wasn't a valid strategy. He just tried. And he probably thought he could just get away with it. But no, not how it works.
Because I said we have rules. We have
rules. We have pretty concrete rules. And no, you can't do that. Try again.
Right. So he eventually ends up picking Dixon, who is going to play Deal or No Deal Island. And Dixon is excited to play. He wants to play. He's like, I want to make some big moves, so I got to do what I got to do. And so he picks case number 4. That is his case. And he goes down. He starts knocking out cases, and he knocks out the lowest of the highest case, and then the third lowest of the highest case, and then a small number, two small numbers after that. So it's kind of like his four cases was right down the middle. He had two high cases gone, two low cases gone. And his deal was actually pretty good for a
Yeah,
first round deal.
it's the highest we've seen all season, which I mean makes sense as the case values eventually go up in
Mm-hmm.
value.
Mm-hmm.
But also, this could have been given out by like the very first round if people had gotten any sort of luck. So good on Dixon for finally making a price that's over like $200,000.
Yes.
Like, it's been bad. It's been really bad this season.
Right. But he made it 300 something thousand, 300 plus. And he says no deal to that, of course, because he still
Oh,
has the big money on the board. So then the next round, the second round, he knocks out three of the four smaller cases on the
yeah.
board. And then the second lowest on the other side. And it was just like, wow, okay. So he was literally down to $1 and then 2 million and 5 million. Like 2 point something million and then 5 million.
It's 2.5 and 5. Literally the two high value cases.
It was
I
wild.
mean, it quite literally during the entire game, it never made sense for Dixon ever to fold and go out. He was
Mm-hmm.
always in a position where if he kept playing, he was in a just doing better and better. And obviously, there's kind of only one conclusion as to why that may be the case.
Right.
Either Dixon is getting incredibly lucky by never hitting the 5 million,
Mm-hmm. Or
or he
he
hasn't.
has the 5 million. Absolutely. And so after the second deal, which the next deal, which was a million, was a million. I think it was a million, 1.2, 1.7, something
Yeah,
like that.
it was basically it was if I remember right, it was it 3.2 million?
Well, that was the last deal. That was
That
the
was the
final
last
deal.
deal. Yep, my brain
Yeah.
is going too fast.
All right. The second deal was like 1.7 or 1
Yeah,
point something like that.
1.7 million because I mean he had three high values and then I want to
A
say
$1 bill.
a $1 bill.
And so then he did the last round. He was like, no deal to that. And he did the last round. And he picked the $1 case. So that's off the board now. And that final deal was 3.5 because it was in the middle of the 2.5 million and then the 5 million.
Yeah,
So it was $3.5 million.
which at that point I mean, you take that deal and you think you are probably at that point you're either saying I have the 5 million case or I have the 2.5 million. So,
It was a lot. It was a lot. But he decides to say no deal to that. He want to ride it out and open his last case. And Storm is being so supportive, like ride it out, ride it out. Everybody is so nervous for him, and everybody's excited for him, and everybody's like, yeah, just do what you got to do. Take the deal or don't take the deal. We're supporting you. We're behind you. He doesn't take the deal, and they tell him to open his case, and he opens case number 4 to find $5 million in that case.
okay,
I
yeah.
was
Um just casually I want to say to this point have the highest ever
yeah,
payout of any deal or no deal game that's
yes,
ever been on the show,
yeah,
which
absolutely.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Oh my God.
That's wild. Wild. So Dixon makes the great deal, and he is safe in this game. And he now has the responsibility of sending someone home. And he's like, I'm ready to make a big move. First, he tells everybody that he loves them. It's been great. Nothing personal. But he's ready to make a big move. And so, Storm, you're done.
What? Everyone is confused. Every single person is confused. Storm?
Like,
The man not even halfway up the perceived threat ranking? The man that has, to this point, the only thing that we know about him is have a flirt dance with Maria Grace that everyone already knows about? Obviously you're not going to take out David.
Right.
I'm not wishing for it to occur. I want to make this very, very, very clear. I'm not wishing for this to occur. You're not going to take out David. You can't take out Will or Parvati. The next highest on the threat list is Philip.
Yep.
Or Letty.
Yep.
Or CK.
Yep.
It feels like someone trying to figure out what a big game move is and then completely flub it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. That was his move of choice, and he wanted to get rid of Storm. And his reasoning was he knew Storm was going to beat him in a lot of challenges, and he needed to get out the big people, so he won't have to face them in the end. And I'm like, your dad's right there.
Yeah, but you have to understand people. That's my dad. I can't get rid of him.
Can't do that. But Storm is gone, and he is shocked, like completely blown away by this, and so is everybody else. Maria Grace, her jaw hit the floor. She still ain't picked it up yet. People were just shocked that was the move. Dr. Will is shocked. He's like, "Oh, I got played. This little punk played me. He has played me." Okay. Well, now it's time to go after the family. And I was like, "Whoop." Well,
yep. Yeah, no, I mean, what the fuck are you gonna do? You just have to snipe him at this point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so everybody's like, "Bye, Storm." Storm's off doing his last minute goodbye speech or whatever to the camera. And then in comes Maria Grace to make sure they seal it with the kiss, send him off on his way with a little something. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Sure. I bet they ain't together now."
I would bet the $5 million case they probably aren't, but they're nice. It's a nice couple if they are.
If they are, great. If they're not, nice. But they have. He's gone. Storm's gone. That's it.
That's it. Yeah. No. I mean, it really was just. Oh, we have to explain why someone we haven't talked about this entire time is going home.
Right.
I guess show the love relationship. Do that. Go. And now we're just off to another episode. It literally just feels like a filler episode where if you just don't view this episode the entire time, it's just like, oh, what happened to Storm? That's weird. Anyway.
Yep. Unfortunately. But that's that. And we get to talk to Storm tomorrow. So I'm gonna do this for the first time because we haven't had an interview where we talk to them after we've done our recap. It's always been before. So if you have questions that you want us to ask Storm, put them in the comments below. Let us know what questions we should ask Storm. And because honestly, we don't know what to ask because we did not get a lot of TV time from Storm. And I feel like they just crammed everything about Storm in this one episode because they knew he was leaving. And so let us know what you want us to ask Storm so we can ask them. And we will even give you a shout out during the interview if you want to be a part. So let us know what questions we should ask Storm tomorrow when we talk to him. And be sure to follow and subscribe to this channel on your way out. We appreciate you spending the time talking to us. Follow this channel, follow all of our other channels. All the links will be in the description below, as well as our audio podcast links, our Patreon, all of our socials at The Cup Pod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky, as well as you can follow me and Jack on Twitter and Blue Sky there, and then Instagram right there for me. And then, of course, get your cup merch because you should. You should do that. Get your cup merch, LanaG'sCreations.etsy.com. Link is in the description below. And we're going to get out of here. So cheers, y'all.
Cheers.